Hello, I'm Tina Ducharme. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be bringing in and showing you the soul contract diagram for Whitney Houston. I am also going to be bringing forth some messages through the creative writing that I did that she wanted to share with you. And also I'll be pulling some oracle cards at the end of the reading to bring forth messages for everyone during this Mercury retrograde period. So bear with me as communication can be a little bit of a challenge during this time. So I'm going to try to take my time and explain things as clearly as I can. So I appreciate your patience. And so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and bring up Whitney's chart. So here is the beautiful Whitney Elizabeth Houston. She was born in August of 1963. She would have been around 57 years old had she still been alive on this incarnation. And she was a Leo, which obviously shows a great star, lots of Leo energy there. Came directly through her, these 9 9s over here, and through her spiritual talents. Now she did pass away on February 11th of 2012. And I believe she was taking a bath and, through her drug use, really played a huge role on her heart, and whether that was heart failure or I believe she may have drowned in the bathtub, or that's what said. The autopsy showed that, she had a lot of heart damage from years of drug abuse. And I know that that played out publicly for her. So let's dive into her chart and see where a lot of that energy was playing out for her. So we're going to start with her physical aspects here, like I always do, because the physical side of your chart plays out beginning pretty early in life. And that's this triangle that points towards the earth here, this downward triangle. And then we usually, once we start to learn our lessons, we start to bring in these spiritual aspects, and those play out on this upper triangle here that points towards the heavens. If you are looking to get a little bit more history on how we come up with all of the numbers, I do have an introductory video. I always post it in the description link below, so people who are interested in learning a little bit more just about the basics of the soul contract diagram, I kind of lay that out for you a little bit better in the introductory. So here we're going to dive right in, because I want to get through the numbers so we can. She has a lot of healing messages she would like to bring forth to people, and I want to share those with you. So we're going to start right away with these 8s. Let's 8s in her physical karma, because we kind of start off, like I said, with this physical triangle, and we have a karma, talents, and a goal that we're striving for on the physical side. The karma is her opportunities for growth, and these are going to show up for her. The 8s is a very Cancerian energy. This little symbol is the amoeba, and it's a little amoeba in a watery environment, and that's all about the emotions. And the 8s are tied to our expression in society, how we fit into society, and how she would express herself. And so what we see with the physical karmic side is you're going to bring in a lot of the negative vibrations of an aspect. And because she only chose to have one number represented, we call that the double number, the 8-8. She was definitely going to see this number play out very strongly in a karmic aspect. And so what this means, I always see usually 8s are high frequency souls coming in. They've had many incarnations. And so they're they have a tendency to have a little trouble getting into their emotional body. And so this can play out in having a lot of emotional attachments, deep emotional attachments to people, and really becomes a problem when um, you need to let go. So people with eights, they're high frequency souls. They struggle with their emotional body, getting grounded, which bringing those emotions down into the body. When they do, they can have these great emotional attachments and they don't want to let go of them. They also have a little bit of trouble distinguishing between the light and dark. And this can also be truly identifying people who are good or bad in our lives, discerning, developing that discernment for when we know if people have our best interests at heart. And so I believe you can understand how this played out in her life. Now, this would play out initially through her parents and friends and those types of things, about really, did they really have her best interests at heart, or did they have their? And so she would have a little bit of a hard time figuring out how that was playing out for her with this number. Gets a little bit cloudy for her. Now on her physical talent side, she has the 11-2, which is a wonderful number for building a business. Gives her this spring here is she came here for also about learning emotional resiliency. The spring kind of this little picture here is as a spring, and the 2 is kind of balancing out those emotions, those highs and lows. But again, if you're pulling in a lot of the negative aspects of the numbers, you can have these great highs and lows, and it can be a little bit cause you to have a little bit of instability. Now the 11-2 derives its energy. The 11 derives the energy from Venus, the 2 from the moon. Now the Venus is very beautiful. Whitney was very beautiful. I chose this particular picture because I thought it really represented more of who she was at a soul level. Once you started to get to see more of that commercial Whitney, this is her, I think this was maybe one of her earlier, maybe her first album, but this picture to me really represented a more clearer picture of her beauty and soul, not so bogged down by that commercialism and all of the issues that she ended up taking on, as you can see throughout her life, as it really distorts her image. You can really see it definitely in her pictures. I think I can really see that, how that really was weighing her down. And so the 11-2 is also adds a lot of creativity. And again, it is a lot of strength in building, but it's tied to what we call a double number. So it's tied to a life to death. And this is all about cycles. And for her, it was all about having cycles in her life, whether it's, the cycle of an album, how that play out, or the cycle of a relationship with somebody, how it starts and how it ends. And this was meant for her to really value life. She would come into some, obviously, as you know, some opportunities there to deal with this kind of a cycle with relationships. And the negative aspect of the 11-2 that I thought really stuck out to me, because we don't, when we start to learn our lessons, we start to learn to let go of certain things for these 8s and start to learn that lesson. And this karmic will start to open up our talents, but we do bring in, with any of these numbers, there's always negative and positive sides. The karmic aspects will bring in mostly negative, because you are meant in this lifetime to transmute those into the positive aspects. And you're going to get lots of opportunities showing up in your life to do that. Now, the 11-2 can be all about taking on dysfunctional patterns from others. And this is a very codependency number. And so I believe this was playing out in codependency in maybe her relationship with her parents, could have morphed, obviously, was in her relationship with her husband, her ex-husband. I believe they did finally get divorced, which is part of this life to death cycle, and really showed how this dysfunction and how this 11-2, you have to be very careful of this in your chart about not taking, about being aware of your true sense of self, and are you really becoming, how are you becoming attached to others through these, she has this karmic 8s, which is all about deep emotional attachments, and are you taking on the dysfunctional side? What is your group of friends? And so this was one of the messages that she had channeled earlier today, and she had talked about, we are not meant to compromise ourselves for others. This is destructive codependency. And this played out for her. This codependency definitely was playing out. And so, but again, she you know, everything is not always good, or you're getting a little bit of you know, she was awesome at building her business. She was, you know, working on her emotional resiliency. And then this would start her physical goals is your dream, what gets you up at night. And this 12-3, you know, this is Libra and Mars energy. And this is all about balance and expansion. And we all know, you know, she was very expansive. I mean, she sold, I mean, I believe she was in the Guinness Book of World Records for selling the most out. I mean, she just broke records, and she just, you know, crushed it, right? Her expansion was just phenomenal in that respect. The 12, Libra, is really that expansive energy. And the 3s is the Mars energy, the communication. And we actually recommend people who have 3s in their karma or their goals to come out and to do public singing or public speaking, to open up the vocal channels. So this was something that obviously was part of her goals as finding her expression in society, opening up the vocal channels, and then really being able to develop that in an expansive arena. She did a wonderful job, right, at the physical aspect of this. Now, the issue with the 12-3 is also, though, about finding balance, and it's finding balance between your physical, emotional, and sexual expression. And if you're not learning your lessons, if you're not, you know, knowing or becoming conscious of the negative things, like her dysfunctional, taking on of these dysfunctional patterns in others, whether that was, you know, maybe a parent, or her, obviously, you know, with the Bobby Brown, we all are like, people were like, what in the world would she go out with this Bobby Brown? He was not known to be this great guy. He was, you know, but she had trouble discerning. This was part of her karma, was to see through these, you know, to learn how to see through. So she was going to attract those type of people to her, maybe dark people, because it's all about transmuting that, knowing who has your best interests at heart, and not taking on their dysfunctional patterns, and never lowering your vibration to meet somebody else's. That's we are not, you know, like she had said, we are not meant to compromise ourselves for others, to make them feel better, to lift them. There's a difference between lifting somebody up and lowering yourself to meet them where they're at. If you're lowering yourself to meet somebody where they're at, you can't pull them up. You can't help them pull up, because you're lowering yourself. I've learned this in my own experience. I've had a lot of codependency relationships. I've learned this lesson through and through about being true to myself, not in a indulgent or selfish way, but you can't help somebody by being the bad side with them. That's not helping you to grow as a person. And so this number would really require her to, I mean, she was doing, not being able to really take a look at what was going on. That kind of drives this 12-3 will keep you busy, 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 but not give you a time to rest. You have to really come to your center and find that time to take that space to start to go inside. This also gives you a lot of heavy on the negative side, which shows up in our goals initially negative, which we're trying to work to the positive side, but she had some, obviously growth in her career and things that were very positive, brings abundance to you. She had great abundance, not an issue there, but there's some underlying things that were playing out in a very negative way, like these heavy judgmental energies. You could hear her judgment about other people or talk negatively about it gets you in a very negative place, not a good place to be. And it makes you very unbalanced, because this is about coming into balance, not being unbalanced. And the threes can is all about bringing these subconscious feelings to the surface, and you can do that through music and singing. And that's why we recommend people with this in karma to be able to do some type of public speaking and singing to help them open up these and to bring from the depths. That's this labyrinth here, to bring from the depths the emotions that you're feeling so that you can transmute them. Because if you don't know what you're feeling, it's really hard to transmute them. It's really about becoming conscious of them. So the other side to this 3 that can be very negative is it can bring in a lot of impatience, and it can be very violent if you're really getting into the negative aspect. And we saw some violence in her relationship with her ex-husband, Bobby Brown, and I can see where this played out for her. And so as far as this physical triangle, she was building a great business, had great creative energies, even though she was still struggling with that letting go, being too emotionally involved, not clearly seeing who were the right people in her life and who were not the right people in her life, struggling with that. She did start to flow through to her spiritual karma and talents and goals, as I could see, because these 5s, that tells me she is a very sensitive person at a soul level. And that you're very sensitive to negativity too. So you really need to honor yourself. And that means you need space. You need to have a very harmonious home and lifestyle. And if you don't get this, it's going to make you very, again, ungrounded, unbalanced. And so again, this was something, she was meant to really try to get to these energies of balance and harmony. And that was meant. She chose this chart to have these things come to her so that she could overcome them. None of this is a punishment or something that, because she did something in a previous life. She chose this chart, and the people around her, those are all soulmates and people that were chosen to challenge her in these ways so that she could, the 5s are a pioneer energy, stepping forward into your truth. I imagine she probably as a child was punished for speaking the truth, because 5s would definitely have, they tend to be persecuted younger because they know the truth and they just speak it, but that can be very hard for people to hear. I know she was raised very religious, so if she had an issue, she probably would have said, this doesn't make sense to me, and then she could have been punished for that. So then we start to shut down this aspect of us. 5s are Aries. It's all about coming forth into our truth, pioneer, very creative energy. The great thing about her chart is she did have these 9s in her spiritual talents, which is the most powerful number. It's a Leo number, which correlates greatly with her birth sign. And this is a wonderful number, and this is where you see this great, wonderful skill in channeling these wonderful songs and messages that she was singing about, and how she was singing right from her heart, how easily she was. This is a direct connection to source. This is like a connection and bringing down divine energy and expressing that out to the public. And that's why she was so loved. That's why so many people, because she could make that direct. This is a wonderful number to have. We'll talk a little bit because there's going to be some negative aspects that I see were playing out with this number in her life. But this really was what was giving her that channeling capability, making her such a just a dominant force with her, the way she could connect emotionally. And that was part of what she came here to do, was to emotionally connect with people. So this was helping her out tremendously once her spiritual energy, once she started to develop that, once she could make that connection singing from the heart, she connected with us. There's no doubt. I am so mesmerized when I listen to her or watch her. It's incredible, isn't it? Just that gift of that connection. And we just want to eat it up because we all want to be, we all came here in these separate bodies, uh, souls having this, human experience, these great spirits. And so when you see somebody like that projecting that direct connection to source, where you just can't help but want that and get mesmerized, because it's a remembrance to us of who we are and where we came from. And so that's why it's so alluring. And so we're going to talk about the 6/6 goals and destiny now, because she's a dominant 6. So that means she has the most. Now, this is a number that was playing out the most in her chart. And oh, I did want to mention too about the negative side of these 9s, before we move on, is this can bring in a lot of drama and a lot of pride if you're not conscious of your behavior with this, because you are, your God self here, but it can sometimes come across negatively, or it can be you're afraid of your power, so you allow people to disempower you. And I guess you could say we saw a lot of disempowerment from maybe, people in her life telling her what to do. She was supporting a lot of people, a lot of family and things like that. And that can be very disempowering, because it keeps you on, it makes you feel responsible for others, which would play out in this taking on this codependency, feeling you have to provide for everybody, and kind of keeps you really stuck. And you kind of see her trying to break out of this, because she starts to, we'll talk about this, the drug addictions and stuff comes from the 6, but you can see her start to have this breakdown, trying to, in some ways, take her power back by not showing up, not doing what she's told to do, right? That's part of taking that power back, and can be a little bit rebellious. So you have to work on it. And this number can, like I said, can be a great number, because you have to remember, though, this is your direct connection to source. So as you serve in the best and highest good for everyone, you will be served. But if you start to be self-indulgent, neglectful of yourself, of love of others, this, you're going to see some bad, stuff coming, some more karma coming on there for you to deal with because of that. So, this is really a gift, but if you don't recognize it, it can kind of shoot you in the foot. Now, we talked about like these 6s and our goals, and goals is all about what gets you out of bed. The 6s is this, what we call the creative knot. And it's really being able to, it's about thought, building something from nothing. It's a super creative power. This number, when I see it in a chart, represents the fact that you don't have 100% free will. I know we all have free will, but when you choose certain numbers, there is no free will. And there was no free will with these 6s, because it was all about her to come into some form of creativity in this lifetime. And I believe she did through her music. Now, whether she was really a lot of that maybe wasn't driven as far as she did a lot of pioneer things. She sold more records. She was a pioneer, coming through as a woman and a woman of color to do and accomplish the things. She was meant to be super creative. These are Taurus energies. She was to become focused and creative. But this in its negative form, which we all get, as well as some of the positive, is a very possessive, stubborn, and strong-willed. And that can block you at the soul level. So I felt that there was obviously some blockages going on, because towards the end of her career, her voice was going, she was getting really, really blocked because she wasn't taking care of herself. She wasn't acknowledging, she wasn't becoming conscious of her behavior. And the addiction sixes is all about addictions as well. It's meant for you to take that on, but to overcome it. And she was struggling with that greatly. And this 6/6 soul destiny is all about allowing that creative power that we talked about, bringing down through the nines, the creative power coming through your soul, and to bring your soul creativity out to the public. And I think we saw glimpses of that. She is saying, that there were some things she had talked about. She wished she would have done. She wanted to do a not a religious album, but you know what I mean, more of a gospel album. That would have been something that would have met more of the soul driven aspect to her. It was something she didn't do, and she was getting blocked because of a lot of these negative things that kept running through her chart that she was not becoming conscious of and addressing. And this 6/6 is, once you get blocked, you get there's a lot of anger and frustration that come to it. And so she's very angry, very frustrated. I think you can see that in a lot of her interviews. There's such an underlying anger that, obviously she may have been pushing that onto other people, thinking it was because he did this or she said this, but it really is anger because you're not being your true self. You're stepping out into your truth. You're just following what everyone's telling you to do. You're in this very dysfunctional, negative, position with somebody, family life. And so how do we get, here's somebody who's very successful in some aspects, but really struggled at a soul level in other aspects. So, it all starts with how we are raised. So eights really, if you see an 8 in a karma, they really need a lot of unconditional love from the people around them so that they can feel safe to engage with their feelings. 5s are the way they need to be able to speak their truth without fear of persecution so that they can become who they are supposed to be. It's really important for them to have non-judgmental parents, loving them unconditionally, caring for them, being very sensitive to their space and not crossing boundaries, because you can see a lot of boundary issues going on here. And so that's what we would recommend. She really could have benefited a lot from just doing regular yoga, meditation, qigong, things that would really get her focused on the body, feeling what's in the body. Taking long breaks and clearing her space, doing retreats, things, very healthy things, not being self-indulgent, which is, buying things or that you don't need and indulging in things that are toxic to your system, like foods or alcohol or drugs, not that type of, really taking care of the body in a very honoring and respectful way. And so they, again, if she would have it would have been helpful for her to keep a diary so that she could, to help her ground her own ideas and her own path so that she could make sure she was being true to herself. And sometimes we take on so much, everyone's telling us what to do and how to do it, that, and they're basically living through your talent. And then you lose your sense of self. And I do believe, that was playing out very, very prevalent in such a beautiful soul's life. And she wants everyone to know that now that she's on the other side, she's doing a lot more healing. It just doesn't end once you transition over. Her healing, she needs to do a lot more healing there. She was very, very destructive. I'd like to mention Cash Peters. He has a Soul Crossings channel, and he did the transition pictures for Whitney, and it made me cry. So I recommend, if you're interested in that, go to his channel and check that out. It is pretty, oh my goodness, crushing when you see her transition pictures. But so again, we were talking about, she had sent me a few messages. Another one is taking time to take care of the self, not being self-indulgent, but loving, honoring, and nurturing the body. That's what we just got through talking about. Doing that through, good organic foods, good water, keeping hydrated, those types of things, taking care of the body, maybe, massage, things like that. Those are all very good things. Meditating, quieting the mind. She also wants to get back to some of this. You are the only one who can create stability in your life. Be your own best friend. Empower yourself. These 9s in her chart can also lead to a real victim consciousness. Because you become so disempowered, everybody seems to be taking advantage of you. She's in this. You don't see your part in the whole thing. You don't see that you are the one who's put yourself in this cage, even though the door is open. So she is really wanting to say that this is not about anybody else. Forgiveness is essential. She has forgiven everybody in her life because that was all set up by design. So they were just actors in a play, basically sent here to push her to rise up above, become conscious, get that sense of self, that self-love that is so important. She wants to mention too, this is such a great time because we're in retrograde season. And to review who you have in your life, great time to weed the garden, we call it. Are you with people who help you, who support you, or do they want you to come down to their level? Are they have all these things we're struggling with and want you to be there with them, and not, you know them by if you're becoming successful and they're poo-pooing your success. I think we saw a lot of that in her marriage. You had somebody who she was more successful, even though he was successful in his own right. He wasn't grateful for that. He wanted to be above her. This was a competitive relationship, which is very toxic. That's not healthy. You should support each other. And she was wanting him, like she would belittle herself, don't, say that about him, or she would try to, let him ride on her coattails so that he could elevate himself. And that's not how this is done down here. That's not going to work. So she does want you to talk about that. Make those tough decisions. You're never alone. You have many, many angels and guides that are following you and helping you. If you just ask, you have to ask, because we have free will. If you're not connecting with your guides and your angels, as I like to call them, they can only try to support you as best you can because of your free will. You have to ask them for help. They will show you the signs. You will become more and more conscious of the things as it happens. Now, with the other thing I want to mention about her chart is she has a lot of these what we call double numbers in her chart. And when you have this many double numbers, As you see here, she has a blended energy here and a blended energy here. But because she had a lot of these just singular numbers in her aspects, it can lead a person to feeling a little bit getting stuck in their lives because they don't have a lot of other numbers to draw off of. And so I can definitely see she picked the super hard chart, you know, even though she accomplished huge things in her life, at this emotional level, she was really struggling. And you can see where she just burned herself out because she got really stuck in some of these negative elements of the chart. So I do want to read something for these dominant sixes, and it's a word directly from source or God, as or you know, your higher self, whatever you relate to, the great spirit, whatever you relate to, what makes the most sense from you. And this is a direct word about her having this dominant six. And this is what it says: you now have love, power, strength, abundance, the ability to move and to act. With all my love, I could not lead you into temptation, but because I love you so, I will permit you to create your own temptations and then figure out how to get out of them. I will help you anytime you are inextricably involved if you will call on me. Just what I had said about calling on help. The important lesson for you to learn is that each lesson is of your own choosing. All avenues will be open to you. It is up to you to choose the one that is right for you. The choice is always between your free will and mine. So that was a wonderful message for the dominant sixes. And she takes full, absolute responsibility for what happened in her life. And she hopes, you know, she is there with her daughter, and they've reconciled, and they're both working through some healing again on the other side. And she's part of her healing is to come through channelers and to come through people to send out the message of her life so that people can get an idea of what they can do if these things are playing out for them, you know, what they can do about it to help them. So we're going to also pull a few oracle cards, and the first one I'm drawn to is a healing mantra we're going to do, and this is from the Kahn deck. I have taken some of Matt Kahn's classes. He is a elevated soul, I would have to say, in a direct connection to source. He is so healing and has such wonderful gifts and is being so wonderful to share those gifts from to all of us. I've been very blessed for him to be a mentor to me. Okay, so what would Whitney, what would she like to tell our viewers? It's overcoming fear. And the mantra is, I will transcend every loss. So please, everyone, keep that in mind. I will, I'm going to go back here. Hang on, I'm going to stop sharing the screen so that you can see these cards better as I get them. So hopefully the camera, well, it's on the back of the card. It talks about overcoming fear, and then that's the mantra is I will transcend every loss. She has a lot of confidence in you. So the other thing we're going to do is, because she had karmic 8s in her chart, I'm going to use the Caroline. Oh, one just flew out. Holy cow. 2 of them dead. Well, Whitney knows what she wants to tell us. Let me say that much. Well, these things are like flying right out of here. Okay, so the first one we have is Avenger. And so these are messages she wants to give to the collective, things that are going on right now. And so she wants to share these messages with you. So this is the Avenger card. And so the light attribute, there's a light and a dark side as of everything. You know, we live in the 3D dual world here. And so the light attributes are desire to balance the scale of justice, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. But the shadow side of this that we have to be very cognizant of is when we've crossed that line from the Avenger, is resorting to violence in the name of a cause. We never resort to violence because force is not true power. And she wants you to know that it's okay to have a desire to balance the scales of justice. That's a very, very great place to be. That's channeling really positive energy, but it is never meant for you to be violent against anyone else. So the next card that we have is the Beggar card. I find this very, very interesting. And I think this says a lot about what she wants to convey today. So the light side of the Beggar is confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival, awakens the spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem. So these are the things that empowerment will awaken in you. Now, the shadow side of this Beggar card is dependence on others to the exclusion of effort. And that's what she wants to get across, is when we are dependent on others to do for us, then we don't come from the soul level. We don't create. She was meant to create from the soul. People are creating for her. She's becoming dependent. That does not bring fulfillment, and it does not bring happiness. And I think we can definitely see that. Those are wonderful messages. I'm just loving that. So we're going to go next to the Wisdom Oracle and see what other messages she would like. Whitney, what else would you like to say to the collective during this retrograde period? Hang on. And so the card that jumped out that I was attracted to was this 39, which adds up to 12. The 3 and the 9 is 12, right? That was her expansion number, the 12. And it says new life on it. So you can see this lady and how she is waking up off of this pedestal. Isn't that interesting? Waking up off of this pedestal, and she's still kind of not quite awake, stretching up her hand, and she has one wing down. It's really trying to get away from the glare here. So let's go ahead, and this is the Wisdom of the Oracle from Colette Baron Reed. Let's go ahead. I just am curious as to what else she has to say. Birth of new ideas, growth, opportunities, a breath of fresh air, life renewing itself. When spring awakens the world, joy and excitement can be felt all around and in your very core. Blossoms burst from trees overnight, birds return home and sing their glorious song. And nature is full of promise. Miracles back on all of us. This is one of those times in your life when new ideas inspire you and new opportunities bring you hope for seeing your dreams come true. All is well in your world, and you have the energy you need to feel renewed. Allow your heart to fill with enthusiasm. Let your light shine, for this is a time of good fortune. Oh, what a wonderful message for all my viewers. Yay, good fortune. Just follow those new ideas. Follow that intuition. So very, very, very important. And so we're going to do one more from the Work Your Light Oracle from Rebecca Campbell. And so what work of light do we need to be focusing on? of light, Whitney. Okay. Ooh. Priestess, how are you being called to step up and lead? Again, the threes in her chart were leadership numbers. She was definitely a priestess in this life. I mean, my goodness, she even looked like a priestess to me. So she's on the other side telling us how are you being called to step up and lead? What can you do in your life to take the lead? Very, very, very important energy. Thank you. We're going to do one more from my the Archangel Metatron Self-Mastery. She's working on that self-mastery, on mastery of ascension. I guarantee you she'll be back. She's like, got lots of healing to do though. Lots of healing to do on the other side. And she is definitely doing that. And so her final message for you, and this is number 46, which adds to a 10. A 10 is the end of a karmic cycle. This may have been an end of a karmic cycle for Whitney. And so it talks about the authentic self. Who are you? I got goosebumps on that one. So I am going to read quickly from the Archangel Metatron Self-Mastery by Amanda Ellis. She also channels celebrities. You may want to check out her channel. I have followed her for years. I'm not sure, I think she's done Whitney. You might want to check that out. But yeah, she does wonderful work. She's a color therapist. She understands. She's just such a great healing person. I love listening to her. So 46, authentic self. Who are you? Walk into the hall of mirrors and you will see 100 reflections of yourself. These reflections are like other people's perceptions and ideas of who you are. Ideas based on their own filters and also on what you have chosen to show, reveal, or be at different times in your life. You may resonate strongly with some of these reflections, admire and like some, and disregard or shun others. All are part of the energy that you have emitted or sent out. Some accurate and some less so. The reflections all look like you, but are they really? These include reflections of how you see yourself and judge yourself and who you believe yourself to be. Look at how the figure in the mirror is shielded by white satin. Archangel Metatron has brought you here to unveil yourself to who you truly are, your authentic self, stripped bare of other people's perceptions as well as your own. To gaze into this mirror is to see yourself properly for the first time ever. As Metatron lifts away the satin sheet, you see yourself gazing back at you, ageless, eternal, light-filled, and your spirit shining brightly. There is no hiding place. This is you. Look into your eyes and see your androgynous soul reflecting back to you many lifetimes, much wisdom and love in its purest form. There is no hiding place. It reminds me of one of her songs, I Have Nothing. And she talks about, I can't hide from myself anymore. I think that's fits into this message. So this is as you were when you were born, a pure incarnated soul in physical form come to play, work, learn, do, and be. Not just do, but just to be and connect to the other side. You have lost this connection with your true authentic self. Allow this relationship with your true essence to deepen and blossom. As it does so, much may need to adapt in your life as you recognize and follow your own authenticity. Being authentic may result in you being asked to not follow the crowd, but to stand out and shine brightly in your own right, doing life your own way. This doesn't have to be a lonely place. Metatron is beside you and will help you recognize those of a similar vibration and those who live authentically too. They will come to you. Just ask Metatron if you need help or guidance. If you believe in that and you start weeding garden, He will bring people into your life. You're not alone, who share your values, who share the things that you're trying to overcome that will help you. So it is time to allow all the masks to fall away, to recognize and appreciate who you really are. That deepening of that relationship starts now. Look into the mirror and see. And exercise I would want you to please do is to look in the mirror, look into your own eyes and say, I love you. And when you can do that without feeling weird about it, then you're starting to see the real you. I get very emotional about that because it's something I've been working on for a long time myself, my true authenticity. So with that, I thank Whitney so much. I love her. I adore her. She thinks the world of all of you and thanks you for supporting her in her music, and to please forgive her. And she's just sends her deepest love to everybody. Thank you, and I hope to see you. Please like, subscribe, and I'm going to be bringing more messages and continue on this path as the souls come to me. I kind of have a list, but they kind of come forward once I know who it is. So I'm not picking people just that I like, or, I'm trying to allow those beings that want to be channeled to come through. So then we'll take a look at their souls and bring their messages to you. So thank you again, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.